How to use video to recruit for your small business.
Let's get into it.
Video Mavericks, the small business video marketing podcast. Presented by Workshop Media. With your hosts, Brett and Jeff, sharing a combined 40 years of video production and marketing experience. Take it away.
All right, so hiring is hard. It's difficult, especially for small businesses.
Yeah, and finding the right candidates for positions can be nearly impossible, particularly if you're in an industry where you need, very specific types of talent.
Yeah.
Maybe it's a little different if you've got sort of general needs inside of the business, but if we're talking about highly skilled positions or someone who has a particular background in something, then it's very, very important that you are attracting the right kinds of people. And frankly, to save you some time in the recruiting process, but also to fill those positions with the very best candidates. So.
Yeah. And not just that, but people that might be not just looking for a paycheck, somebody that's looking for purpose, looking for clarity and a culture and some place to align with.
Yep.
Speeding up that process from a business perspective is also a benefit.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's everything's online now. All of the application processes are online. So people are there looking for content. Unfortunately, some would say, I would say unfortunately, we're kind of moved away from the going into a place, shaking a hand, meeting someone, and that being the way that I'm definitely dating myself. That's it's different now. Even if you do that, you're still going to be pushed to fill out an application.
Yeah. In this case, you're not walking in and going, "Hi, I'm John Smith. Here is my document."
Right.
You're going in with a warmed lead, as we would say. You're going in with somebody that's they're pre-sold on your culture and what's if the connection is there. You don't have to do that level one weeding out of so you still get to do the walk-in, shake hands, but it's not a cold open. It's
sure, that makes sense.
I got to meet you and know you, and best case scenario, which is not in this episode, we talk about it all the time, with friends and family. Make a video. Make your own video when you go to apply somewhere.
Yeah.
But that's not this. That's not this.
That's not this. We're talking about attracting people to trying to attract the right people to your business. And it almost seems crazy the number of times I've heard and read about people that are, actively looking for work and struggling to find a place that they want to be or getting through, it's crazy to think that a business might have a hard time attracting someone when there are so many applicants looking for work. Yeah. But are they attracting the right people, or are they, or are they getting quality folks? So
that's exactly what we're after here. The important thing here is that the business is getting the right folks to avoid turnover, to decrease the amount of time and money spent on candidate searching, hiring and firing, training, onboarding, yada, yada, yada. Video is going to minimize the stress and increase the probability of finding the right candidate for your operation. Yep. And, it's wild to think that there's not more of this content. We see it a lot of times where businesses use one video that is repurposed for recruiting. Yeah. It's like, make recruiting content. Yeah. Get the right people in there, and this is a great way to do it. And recruiting content can be then repurposed. Some of it can be repurposed for external use, better that way than coming back this way.
There are certainly ancillary benefits to having recruiting content out there. So let's jump in a little bit onto the types of content that, we would maybe see in the recruiting world. What are some things that would attract people, and how might you approach recruiting? Is it a video that says we have a job and this is the description of the job?
Why not? I don't think that's it. For starters, I'd look at it the same way as making your brand story piece and then stacking your content on top of it. Right. In this case, I'd say maybe do culture, do something. What's it like a day in the life here? Don't get into the details of, salary range, 401k, blah, 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 blah. That's important stuff, obviously, but let's just get into are we a fit? Do these two people align?
Yeah. So it seems like maybe even as we're thinking about recruiting, we should be thinking about that funnel like we would in the sales world. First, you need to make people aware of what it is that you stand for and what you're representing. And that is the culture piece. That is, that's giving folks a feeling for what it's like to work there, to be there. You understand the values of the organization. Maybe it's the mission and how, how things are generally moved forward, the overall leadership style, or what does it look like when we're at work? Literally, what does it look like? Are we in a cubicle space? Are we in a warehouse? Are people walking around and chatting with one another? Is there team building stuff that's happening? What are, give people a glimpse of what working at a place looks like.
But please be authentic.
Oh my gosh, yes.
Don't take your camera crew or whoever's filming it on their phone or whatever to the bar and your Friday happy hours.
If that's not what you do.
I mean, if you're not ever like realistically gonna do that stuff, and you did it one time, you got some footage, don't. Don't, because you're already working against yourself. If you grind it out and you have a hard time figuring out time to do that kind of team building stuff, then like work on your business, but don't present yourself as if that's the way it is, because you're gonna ultimately find burnout and anger and disdain, and you're going to find all of this trouble later because you weren't genuine. It's like, oh, we have a fun office and there's a dog in here and we've got like a pool table and but we don't ever have any time to play it. Like there's all this stuff. You show how cool your place is. Just be authentically you, because then you're going to find people that go like, I actually really don't play pool and I don't care about that. I care about finding a place that aligns with my skill set and my core values, and I want a good career there. You know what I mean?
So it's be genuine. And if that is your world, if that is what you do,
then hype it up.
Then don't hide it. If you guys are having beers on a Friday afternoon
and that's consistent,
don't be afraid to share that with people. And I think, to your point, it's just you should use your recruiting culture content as an opportunity to be very, very transparent with people who are watching it. And if you're worried about the wrong audience seeing it, maybe you're worried that your investors are going to see your recruiting thing. Again, that's a business problem. That means you're pulling wool somewhere.
Right.
And you should consider that. I mean, you can place content in places where people are more likely to see it. But if you're thinking, man, I want our potential employees to know that we party twice a month, but I don't want the leadership team at the investment firm to know that we party. That's I'm sorry, you've made a mistake in the way that you're running the business. Because
or really be strategic in what you're doing. If you've got this, this is the kind of culture we want, but the board doesn't really understand it. Figure out what your business goals are and what your strategy is, and how can you kind of appeal to both.
Right.
The best way possible.
You want to respect the brand and not put the business out there as we're a law firm and we're taking care of the most, high end, high stress environments, but we,
but 95% of this video is us
drinking,
just throwing darts and taking shots, whatever. So so just be authentic. All right. So
that's a culture
harped
piece.
on that a little bit.
Yeah.
You could do some other stuff, just like we would talk to any business owner about making content that is facing their customers. You'd mentioned, think about it the same way as your funnel. If you know your brand story, which you shouldn't be doing this without figuring out that bit first.
Right.
Then you'll be able to kind of iterate off of it or upcycle some content, right?
Yeah.
You'd mentioned a little bit, like, do we just say here's the job description and all that? 100% absolutely, especially if you have a culture piece. Now you could launch out into smaller offshoots.
Now we're getting into the consideration, which is like the explainer world.
Right.
An explainer that describes the type of position that you're hiring for. If you have a sales team and you need to recruit for a sales team, then content that speaks directly to people with that skill set, that's incredible. The same goes for if it's, any other facet of your business. And if you are hyper specific and someone watches it and they don't like it, then they're not the right candidate. So that's the time to start to take your audience and narrow them down.
Yeah.
Tell them what you're hiring for now.
Yep. Imagine a series. Imagine a video series. Maybe it could be in stages. It could be in stages of the interview process, the application process. It could be that you watch them all, in a YouTube playlist.
Yeah.
You start with one and you kind of step your way through or something,
I like the thought even of these sort of position types of explainers. You could structure that content so that it's not only recruiting people, but also giving other folks that are not in the candidate world a look at humanizing your brand a little bit. So maybe if you have a craftsperson that works in your shop, you can do a piece of content that highlights the world of the type of work that they do.
Yeah.
And in the recruiting side, that's going to show people that we value these things. And here's a look at someone that does that. But then on the public facing side, it is, we care about this particular thing. We care about our people that work here. So it can do, dual purposes. Maybe your CTA gets shifted from, one is, the business presented to you, and the other is reach out to, for an application, for the application process, or, whatever that might be. But the content can be multi-purpose.
Absolutely.
In that way, which is pretty cool about something like that. It doesn't have to be a person reading the description for the job for it to be a description of the job.
That's right. You're being creative with the strategy.
Yeah.
And there's something really nice. You could cut those up into smaller bits and put them on different platforms, and now you're getting the most out of your investment.
Yep.
So,
and then phase 3, what we would typically recommend in a funnel would be that we get down into the conversion side with something like a testimonial piece of content, which that fits very, very well in the recruitment world as well. Yeah. Let's hear from people that work here that are going to be authentic, that are going to come across as trustworthy, and hear what they like about being at this place.
Look, we're not gonna lie to you. It's hard work.
Yeah.
We put in the time, we put in the effort here, but we believe in our mission, and whatever. There's something that kind of made me think with this conversion phase. What if you had a job, you were just filling one role, and you're going to work alongside 3 other people?
Yeah.
You know where this new person's going to be, and they're going to fit right in with this team.
Yeah.
Make a video of that department, of that program, of that. Meet the team. Meet the people you will actually be working with.
Yeah, I like that.
See what this looks like. So the alternative, which is common, is go through the process, review the references, the resume, blah, blah, blah. They get in there, and you just hope that it's going to work out. I filled the role, check.
Bill sucks. I don't want to be here anymore.
Oh, this is terrible. I don't want to be around Bill, man. Now it's like, time, money, onboarding, blah, 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 blah. All that has been done, and now you filled the role, and they're out of here in 90 days because it just wasn't a fit.
So it's like a hyper-specific culture piece.
Legitimately, this is the seat you're going to sit in. This is your seat. This is Jane that you work with, and Steve and Jamal over there. This whole team is your team. This is what they look like. This is what they sound like. These are the things they love. These are the things they hate. Make a fun, like hyper specific.
Yeah, I think that's awesome, and you can do that stuff anywhere from this sort of user generated content social media video, all the way up to if you're hiring for a high stakes role, you get something that's going to reflect that, and people will watch the content, see the quality, and recognize, read between the lines that, this was professionally produced. They mean business. This is I fit this because I can tell that they care as much as I do. And, so don't be afraid. I guess my point there is don't be afraid to go the simple route if that makes sense. You don't have to make Hollywood films to hire a customer service rep necessarily. Yeah. But if that's a critical part of your business and you need the very, very best person for it, consider increasing that quality to fit the role that you're looking for.
And also as a business owner or somebody, leading this department of hiring and onboarding, think about standing out and making content that's going to encourage an applicant to choose you over the other 3 that are in the same skill set.
That's interesting because
you're competing against all the other employers.
It's interesting. At least my first knee jerk when I think about the application process is that the business has to choose you. But, in this case, we're saying you have to earn that person's employment.
Attention and employment. Yeah, exactly.
You have to earn them. So in this particular case, we're flipping the script a little bit there and saying, go out there and earn the people that you want in the role.
Yeah.
Don't leave it up to chance. And
beat your competition in every way you can.
You can do that through video, in that video is going to be the closest thing to you having those people in the role for you, or in the walls to feel what it's like to be there, to fully understand the position. You can get them closer to that before spending the time, the money, the effort on onboarding them, going through a probationary period and going, okay, that didn't work.
Yep.
You can, warm them up to the position much sooner.
This is a bit of this might be an outlier in terms of like you running a business and all of that, but imagine making content of the community. It's not just your company going out and doing a happy hour or whatever, or even like a volunteer event. A lot of companies will do like a habitat thing or something, imagine going out and kind of making like a chamber of commerce type piece, something that's going to encourage tourism or encourage dollars spent, make something like that. You can include your team, and honestly, you could make it a team building exercise to go make the video.
Yeah.
The purpose behind this, I'm just trying to think strategically for people that might be moving to a new city for employment.
You got to sell them on the lifestyle and sell them on the place.
Yeah. So like, here are the things that we love. Here are the places that we frequent. You got to go to this hot dog spot. It's been here for 150 years.
That'll also tell you.
Hot dogs been around for 150 years?
I don't know. That's a good question.
Crazy. When were hot dogs, drop it in the comments. When were hot dogs created?
But to your point, that's, I think that's also a really interesting way to, in a roundabout way or in a creative way, get to know some of the team. So if a team member takes you to their favorite hot dog spot, now okay, these people, I kind of get a vibe about them.
That's exactly right. So, I mean, these are fun ways to, and all of this is for recruiting the best talent and filling these seats to move you towards your business goals. So instead of just posting that paragraph on, wherever, Indeed or something, think creatively,
go
have fun
them.
with it. And then over time, you've got it all sorted. You've got all this content at the ready for other assets that can be posted, So I think what we're getting at here, the bottom line is beat your competition with getting the right hire, and ultimately get the right hire.
Yeah.
Get past level one. Is this person right? I got 100 applicants. Let's narrow that thing down to 10 applicants.
Yeah.
Because some people may have fallen off because they got to see who you are and they realize that I'm not a fit there.
Right.
Or this is the right place. I'm sticking around. Let me make sure I button up this resume. If you're an applicant, maybe I should make a quick little 60-second sizzle reel of myself. And
it's common in our world. People make, we make videos to demonstrate our skills to people. And, essentially, that's kind of what you're suggesting, but it's just at an individual level. So it's really not so far out there.
What we talk about is video is the key. So if there's a problem, if there's a pain point and a solution, I'm looking at it as like,
can I communicate this way more effectively?
Video is the tool. Let's figure out how to make it a video and get people to consume it. Everyone is watching video at all hours of the day, all the time. So I'm applying for a job along with 1,000 other people. Let me make a video.
Absolutely. I think, I think we covered it quite well. If you guys have any ideas or if you've seen any creative ways for recruiting, I'd love to see it.
Absolutely. All right, so make sure you like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell on YouTube. We're also on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. We drop episodes weekly to help small business owners and business leaders use video marketing to grow and scale their operations.